Vivek ji, are movies replacing history textbooks? History textbooks.
I hope it doesn't happen. I don't think movies can ever or should not should replace them. But movies are a very powerful medium. It's very sad. I really feel sad that in India we look down upon movies. And for that, people are not to be blamed, the filmmakers are to be blamed. I'll tell you how. Movies are a reflection of any society's growth, evolution. When the World War happened, then CIA, along with the White House, had a deal with Hollywood. And they invested billions of dollars to, the CIA said, is it possible to use Hollywood as soft power? And since then, if you see, Hollywood has been using their movies as a soft power of America. You ask any child, even here, ask any child, in any country of the world, educated child, uneducated child, a child sitting in Africa with no clothes, no food. If you ask which is the greatest country in the world, the unanimous answer all over the world is USA. Without even going there, without even learning about it, without knowing anything about US, everybody in the world says USA. And in most of the world, if you say, okay, if you have to migrate to one country, where you want to go? Every child wants to go to USA. Because in movies, everybody is going to USA. USA is the hero of this world. Because they have told stories how USA protects the world. How USA protects freedom and democracy and liberty. Which may be true to an extent, but ask Libya, ask Syria, ask Vietnam, ask Cambodia, ask Africa, ask anybody in this world. Go and ask people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki how they protect it. Ask all those homeless people in San Francisco, in Silicon Valley, how they protect it. Being rich has become synonym of protecting freedom and liberty and equal rights. Very proud of Shri Jaishankar. He said that if you tell us about human rights, we'll also tell you about human rights. The whole world is upset with the Kashmir files. And I'm very proud of it. Thousands and thousands of books have been written on Kashmir. It's not, if somebody says, oh, we didn't know. No. That's your problem. You didn't know because you don't read. Nobody in schools and colleges are asking you to read. I have got a room full of books on Kashmir and Kashmir genocide. Every Kashmiri Pandit has written something. Well-published books. If not well-published, some articles, something. They have written. For 32 years, they kept this alive. But one film. See, I'll tell you, this is very interesting to understand the power of cinema. Because cinema is the only art which has all the dimensions. You have audio, visual, plus you have depth. And it is collective viewing. So some kinds of vibes are also traveling and transferring so that there is some kind of a consensus whether this is right or wrong. That's the science of cinema, very simply spoken. Before the release of the film, not even one person from media was willing to talk to me. I went to USA and I was literally begging that Boston Globe or Time or CNN or somebody at least looks at it. In fact, I went to the extent of talking to one very big journalist in Washington Post, an Indian. And I said, you keep writing about Holocaust, you write about Rwandan genocide, you write about Armenian genocide, you call things which are not even genocide, you call them genocide. Every day you are writing about Muslim genocide in India. Then please look at this genocide, talk about it. Nobody was willing to talk. I was literally begging. In India, I called everybody in every channel that this film is coming, give it some due respect. You talk about humanity. Every single night, for so many years, you have created TRPs talking about Kashmir. And today when a genuine film is coming on Kashmir, you are not talking. But nobody was willing. So we had no option, so we took the film and showed it to people like you, door to door in USA and everywhere. Then in India, I started traveling, showing it to film to common people. Once the film came, since then, my phone has not stopped ringing. Yesterday, I realized that it's been more than one month. It's like almost 1.5 months now. Film has done its course of theaters. I should move on. And I just wrote a tweet. And I went to the studio after writing. When I came out after 2 hours, there were 150 missed calls. All calls from media. In last 10 days, you name it, CNN, Time, New York Times, Washington Post, Al Jazeera, you name everybody. Everybody has spoken to me, taken my interviews. I talk about humanity. But their headlines talk about Islamophobia. That's fine. You do whatever you have to do. You bring my thing in conversation. This is the power of movies. Holocaust. Nobody called the genocide of Jews Holocaust before 1979 or 78. I don't remember, but late 70s. Before that, it was never called Holocaust. Some American made a documentary called Holocaust. And it released in Germany. And there were violent discourses, conversations, debates. People came out on the street. There was a lot of upheaval. There were lots of problems. The society went into conflict. But once that matter was settled, today, if they say 60 million people were killed in Holocaust, nobody questions and says, were they 58 million or 60 million? When Spielberg makes Schindler's List, nobody in the world has the guts to even question whether there was anybody called Schindler or not. No. The world has realized that if such mass-scale torture and violence has taken place on the basis of a race or a faith or regionality, the entire humanity should be ashamed of it. No questions asked. There should be zero tolerance. But the problem today is, you must have read about Elon Musk. I am going into detail because you have to understand this politics. You read about Elon Musk yesterday. He made a vulgar offer and he said he wants to buy Twitter. Which was the first tweet which came, no, you cannot? Saudi Arabia's king. Because they have invested most. All these New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, I'm taking names. They are all funded by Middle Eastern money. In America, lobbying is legal. I have practiced recently in last 6 months, I have practiced. You can go and give $5,000 to $10,000, $5,000 to a senator or a congressman to meet him. Another $5,000 to $10,000 to make him tweet about your issue. And you pay him few hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars. He'll become an activist of your cause. This is why in America, everybody is talking about Islamophobia. AOC took it to the Congress, and Congress approved that bill. And soon it will come into the Senate, it will become a law in America. Trust me. Because American policy makers have no spine, all they need is money. It's the Middle East which is ruling American policies. Now, I want all the young people, next time when somebody says, no, in Kashmir, 4,000 people died or 3,900 died or 400 died, you say you are Hindu-phobic. It is important. In the modern world, we cannot be always, look at our body language, we are with droopy shoulders, we are always saying, no, 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 please listen to me. No, you have to make the world listen to you, understand about the greatness of your country and the injustice which is being done to us. And I think to do that, take this message forward, I think movies are very, very strong medium. When Swami Vivekananda ji said, give me 100 committed people, I don't know if he found those 100 committed people, but I believe as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, I am one of them. And that's why I'm making these movies.
One of the biggest things that Kashmir Files has done is bring the conversation of Kashmir, which was earlier a taboo, back into our living rooms, right? And you've also done painful research behind it, like validating it with interviews of around 600, 700 Kashmiri Hindu families is no mean task. And for each of them to recount their own horrors and for you to empathize with it and portray it in such a sensitive manner, it's a huge, huge feat indeed. But we don't want that conversation to end with this movie. We don't want it to end with the movie anchored on an ending of Article 370 being abrogated. But that is done now. What is the future to keep this conversation going? How can I bring back the talk about, let's say, Kalhana's Rajatarangini? How can I encourage people to visit Martanda Sun Temple like how they would visit Konark Temple in Orissa? Why is it different? What is the future for the conversation of Kashmir in India? I mean, in Bharat?
See, this now, what happens is, once the conversation begins, then it finds many, many dimensions. Now people will write about it, media will talk about it, students will also inquire about it, they will inquire, they learn, they would want to go there. The greatest thing which has happened is that it has united people all over the world, all Hindus, I would say, to start with. But I'm sure very soon, a lot of people from different faiths and ethnicity will also become a part of it. How it goes forward, British Parliament has invited me and Pallavi in the month of June and in House of Lords. So we are going there. Then the Human Rights Commission has invited our film for screening. We are going there. I requested Madhya Pradesh government, we told them we don't need even one penny, just give us suitable land in the capital of Madhya Pradesh, Bhopal, to build a genocide museum. And like somebody was saying just now, this museum is not about to inspire you about genocide, but make you learn the great value of humanity and Indian, Bharati style of humanity. That is the concept of oneness. That's the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. When you feel that everybody is part of our family, you don't feel violent towards anybody. And the biggest evil or enemy of humanity today is terrorism. Why is it not even once in our film we use the word Muslim or Pakistan? Not even once, you can see it again. We just spoke about terrorism. Then why all the intellectuals of the world are calling it Islamophobic? Which means somewhere in their minds, they connect terrorism with Islam. I'm not saying it. In my film, most of the unit is Muslim. All those Hindu characters you have seen, Karan and so many, they are all Muslim actors because you're shooting in Kashmir. Where do you get the actors from? I have no problems with that. But in their minds, they are associating Islam with terrorism. And a lot of people are trying to do it with us also. I want the entire world to, when they think about Hindu, they should think about humanity and oneness. This is what I think we need to do, take this conversation to that level.
Now that the Kashmiri Files have come, it's like you've just mix the whole thing up, and everybody has become aware. People who never knew or heard of it, even those who were born before the 90s, never knew anything, and today everybody is aware. Now the next thing is, have you given thought? I know this is not part of your job, but however, have you given thought as to how we can get the Hindus back into Kashmir in a very organized and safe manner, as would be the thought of those that you have interviewed, those 700 plus people that you have interviewed? Have you heard some suggestions from him? And do you yourself have a thought as how we'll get them back? Because that land of Kashyapa Muni does require this nourishment to bring it back to some semblance of what Kashmir actually should be, or the valley at least should be.
Okay, thanks a lot. See, I can answer in two ways. Number one, I'm just a storyteller. I'm not a policy maker. I'm not an army. I'm not the government, so I can't do anything beyond that. But I'll tell you what I'm doing in my own capacity. This is not the end, this is just the beginning. We are making a web series on the history of Kashmir, which is already in the pipeline. And next year, probably early next year, we are planning to release a big documentary in theaters on the same thing. See, the only way, as I understand, what is the problem in Kashmir? Kashmir, the problem is that some people with guns have forcefully entered it. Now they want to establish their faith over there, which is primarily Islam. Primarily what this is, only Islam. Therefore, nobody feels secure going to Kashmir. So there are two things which need to be done. A, Kashmir has to become part of mainstream narrative, number one. Number two, the demography needs to change. Why we live together, despite so many religions, faiths, languages. Even in Chennai, you will see that there are people from different cultures, different places. They live together. Everywhere in India, people live together because there is diversity. Problem with Kashmir is that they have destroyed diversity. Just to give you an example, we were shooting, and it's something which makes me very sad. In fact, if you ask me which is the saddest story out of all the stories I have heard, 700 people we have interviewed, but everybody has told us tens of stories, so our database is very huge. We were shooting in Srinagar, in Dal Lake. The Pallavi was acting, my wife, Pallavi Joshi ji was acting. The camera was on a different boat. So we change lenses and camera, so we take 5-minute break or something like that. And in that shot, there were some young girls, 5 to 7-year-old, two girls who were supposed to be with Pallavi. And they were sitting next to her. So when we took a break, that time was azan time or something like that, or the prayer namaz time. So one of the little 5-year-old girl asked Pallavi, "Where do you go for namaz?" Pallavi said, "No, I don't go anywhere for namaz." She said, "Why?" She said, "Because I am not a Muslim. I am a Hindu." The little girl said, "So what? Everybody has to go for namaz." Now look at this 5-year-old girl, neither she's a terrorist nor she's a terrorist child. She's an innocent young girl who's going to learn about the world. But she has no idea that there can be other faiths. There can be diversity. Today if you go in Kashmir Valley, there is zero diversity. There is no art, no literature, no music. In the name of music, you just have azan. No dance. Such a culturally rich, no philosophy. See, the biggest problem, my grudge with Islam is that it destroys philosophy. Wherever they go, there is no philosophy. So there is no philosophy in Kashmir. There's no dialogue in Kashmir. This is it. So anybody who's born after 1990s, they have no idea that they're different, the flora and fauna, the cultural flora and fauna. There is no spirituality in the seat of spirituality. Unless that is changed. And I have a feeling that it is changing. Demography is slowly changing. Culture is slowly coming back, very slowly, but it is coming back. Lots and lots of Kashmiri Muslim boys and girls have sent me messages after seeing the film. They said, sir, we did not even know that cinema halls existed in Kashmir. Can you do something so that we get Kashmir cinema halls back? Which is a good sign. At least they are thinking about it. Another great sign is that all Kashmiri Muslim youth, when I've been there many times in last 5 years, many times. No wonder there are so many fatwas issued on my name. Every time I go, they issue a fatwa. So, the greatest positive sign is that before this film, they used to own terrorism. And they would say Pakistan has nothing to do with it. We want a free Kashmir and we are doing whatever. They didn't want to share any credit with Pakistan. But after this film, they are saying, no, it's not us. It was all Pakistan. So that is a little shift in their thinking. But I think governments have their own compulsions. Governments go with whatever the masses are talking about. But as Indians, as Hindus, as the citizens of this great civilization, I'll tell you what we can do. If we, instead of focusing on the weaknesses, if all of us start writing about the greatness of Kashmir and how it is an integral part of India, and fill the entire digital space, social media, with the greatness, and why this greatness is because we are one and we are together. Trust me, it will take 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, but your children will definitely be able to go back and live in Kashmir.